the echoes of a doomed prophecy. Before Kael'thar was even born, the Eldari seers spoke of a vision. A sun shall rise, forged in fire, tempered in war. His hand shall shape the stars, and his will shall bind the cosmos. But from the shadow of his triumph, a war shall awaken, a conflict not of conquest but of the soul. Emperor Gyros, ever the pragmatist, dismissed the prophecy as mere mysticism. He placed his trust in order, not omens. But Queen Silthara never forgot. She knew that one day her sons would face each other not as brothers but as forces of destiny. That day had come. The wrath of the Warbringer. Kael'thar did not wage war for power. Power was never his goal. Order was. With Aetheron in chains, the Zyphorion Imperium flourished. Velthium, the celestial element harvested from the planet's core, flowed in abundance, fueling the Empire's fleets and sustaining its quantum gates. But conquest alone did not satisfy Kael'thar. To him, the Aetherii were more than slaves. They were raw material. With their innate ability to channel cosmic energy, they were the perfect vessels. Through dark sciences and genetic refinement, Kael'thar's Dominion engineers reshaped them, creating a new breed of celestial sentinels, warriors bound to his will, linked by the very essence of his command. In the depths of his stronghold, known as the Obsidian Sanctum, Kael'thar stood before his greatest creation, the Prime Ascendant, a towering figure infused with the raw energy of the Aetherii and the disciplined mind of a Zyphorion warlord. "This is the future," Kael'thar murmured as he observed his creation stir to life. No more rebellion, no more division, only absolute unity. And yet in the darkness of his empire, something stirred. The embers of defiance refused to die. Valor's return. Across the void, in the forgotten corners of the galaxy, Valor still lived. Stripped of his name, exiled to the fringes of existence, he wandered through the shattered remains of lost civilizations, searching for a way to undo what his brother had done. It was on the ruins of Soltheris, an ancient Eldari temple world, that he found the truth. The Aetherii were never meant to be subjugated. Their power was not a tool for conquest. It was a bridge to something greater. In his search, Valor uncovered something far more terrifying than his brother's rule. Beneath the surface of Soltheris, in the depths of forgotten archives, he read the final prophecy of the Eldari seers. The black star shall awaken, and from its heart shall rise a force beyond dominion. The God King will burn, and his empire will kneel before the shadow he did not foresee. At first, he thought the warning was about Kael'thar, but it was not. The black star was something else, something older than Zyphorion itself. And Kael'thar, in his arrogance, was leading them all toward its awakening. The birth of the rebellion. On the shattered moons of Aetheron, where Zyphorion's gaze did not reach, the survivors of the once proud civilization gathered. They whispered the name of Valor, the fallen prince, the one who had sought to protect them. Though they had been enslaved, their minds were not broken. Deep within their genetic code, altered in secret by Valor before his exile, the compulsion to worship Kael'thar was failing. One by one, they awoke, and in that awakening, a rebellion was born. Kael'thar's greatest betrayal. As the first whispers of rebellion reached Zyphorion, Kael'thar's spies intercepted a message, a name long thought erased from history. Valor. Kael'thar's rage was a cosmic storm. He had exiled his brother, cast him into oblivion, and yet he lived. Standing in the sanctum of dominion, surrounded by holographic projections of his empire, Kael'thar's mind burned with a singular thought. Valor had to be destroyed. But something gnawed at the edges of his certainty, a voice, deep in his consciousness, whispering of something greater at play. For the first time in his existence, Kael'thar felt something he had never known before. Doubt. The war beyond stars. The war that followed was unlike any other. The rebellion did not fight as armies. They fought as phantoms, striking from the shadows and turning Kael'thar's own creations against him. Entire fleets vanished in the void. Valor's forces moved with unnatural precision, as though guided by something beyond mortal comprehension. And then, on the eve of his greatest campaign, Kael'thar saw it. The Black Star, a celestial anomaly that had remained dormant for eons, its presence barely acknowledged by the scholars of Zyphorion. But now it burned, a singularity of unknowable power, awakening from its slumber. And in its heart, Kael'thar saw the truth. Valor had not been fighting against him. He had been fighting to stop this. Something older than Zyphorion, older than the gods themselves, was waking. And Kael'thar, so obsessed with dominion, so blinded by his own order, had led them all to its feet. The fate of the God King. For the first time, Kael'thar stood not as a conqueror, not as a god, but as a man standing at the edge of a truth greater than his own existence. The black star pulsed, and reality shuddered. Valor's voice echoed through the void, speaking not in anger, but in grim finality. You never understood, brother. And in that moment, Kael'thar realized the greatest betrayal was not Valor's defiance. It was his own certainty. Because in his thirst for order, he had paved the way for the ultimate chaos. And the war that was coming was no longer between brothers. It was between existence itself. This is no longer just a war for an empire. This is a war for reality itself. Kael'thar's journey is not yet over. The brother he once exiled may be his only salvation, but even together, they may be too late. And the Black Star? It is only beginning to wake. The fall of Lord Kael'thar, a war beyond time, a fate beyond gods. The awakening of the Black Star. The moment the Black Star pulsed, reality fractured. Across the Zyphorion Imperium, entire star systems trembled, as if the universe itself had drawn a breath. The ancient quantum gates, once thought indestructible, flickered with unstable energy. The laws of dominion, Kael'thar's unbreakable decree over the empire, began to unravel. And then the voices began. They spoke in whispers, in screams, in forgotten tongues that no being should remember. They did not belong to the living, nor to the dead. They were echoes from the void, remnants of a civilization that had perished before time was measured. Kael'thar, standing upon the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion Eternal, felt something he had never known before. Fear. For the first time in his existence, he was not the conqueror. He was not the god. He was the prey. Valor's truth. In the ruins of Aetheron, deep beneath the surface where the Zyphorion Imperium had built their extraction facilities, Valor and his rebels had discovered what no one else had. The Black Star was not just a celestial object. It was a prison. Long before Zyphorion rose, before even the Eldari seers whispered their first prophecies, there had been another empire. One older than the stars themselves, an empire that had touched the fabric of existence and gone too far. They had unlocked a force so powerful, so uncontrollable, that it could unmake the cosmos. To stop it, they had done the unthinkable. They had bound their entire civilization to it, becoming its jailers, sacrificing themselves to hold it in place. And then they had erased themselves from history so that no one would ever be tempted to awaken it again. But Kael'thar, in his conquest, had shattered the last seal. From the heart of the Black Star, something was emerging. They were not flesh. They were not machine. They were not gods. They were the deathless, beings of pure entropy, the remnants of the civilization that had bound themselves to the void. For eons, they had existed as echoes, whispers in the fabric of space. But now, with their prison broken, they were awakening. And they were hungry. Across the Zyphorion Imperium, planets fell in silence. No war, no destruction, no warning. Entire systems simply ceased to exist. Whole fleets vanished, their crews never screaming, only watching as reality turned to dust around them. And at the heart of it all, Kael'thar realized the truth. The empire he had spent his existence shaping, the order he had imposed, the control he had built, it was meaningless against what was coming. The deathless could not be conquered. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be stopped. They could only erase. The last stand of the God King. Kael'thar had spent his life forcing order upon chaos. Now he was facing a force that could not be controlled. And so, for the first time, he did not seek to dominate. He sought to protect. Summoning what remained of the celestial vanguard, he forged a desperate alliance with the very beings he had once enslaved. The Etherii, the Eldari seers, even his once loyal Zyphorion warriors. All of them stood upon the edge of oblivion together. And at their center, standing beside the brother he once cast into exile, Kael'thar prepared to fight not for dominion, but for existence itself. The Battle of the Black Star, the war that followed, was beyond war. It was not fought in fleets or armies. It was fought in the very fabric of existence itself. Kael'thar, wielding the full power of his Dominion core, pushed against the entropy of the deathless. He became a force of will itself, a being no longer bound by mortality or even time. Valor, standing beside him, called upon the forgotten knowledge of the Eldari, guiding the last survivors through the ruins of a broken universe. But it was not enough. The deathless were too many, too vast. Reality itself was collapsing, the final sacrifice. Kael'thar knew what had to be done. For all his power, for all his dominion, he understood the one truth that had eluded him his entire life. You cannot rule the void, you can only become it. Turning to Valor, he gave his final command. Take them, run. Valor's eyes widened. No, there has to be another way. There isn't. Kael'thar's voice was calm, resolute, as this is my empire, and I will end it on my terms. As Valor and the last remnants of the living fled beyond the reach of the Black Star, Kael'thar stepped into the void. He did not fight. He became. Channeling the full power of the Dominion core, he bound himself to the Black Star, becoming the final seal, the last wall between reality and oblivion. The last thing Valor saw, before the Black Star collapsed in on itself, was his brother's eyes, burning with the fury of a god, the will of a conqueror, and the sacrifice of a king. And then he was gone. The legacy of a tyrant, the memory of a god. For 10,000 years, the galaxy was silent. The Zyphorion Imperium was no more. The Eldari, the Etheri, the last survivors of the old world, they became the new custodians of the stars, whispering tales of the god king who saved existence itself. But some say the Black Star still lingers. That in the cold void, beyond the reach of time, Kael'thar still watches. A god, a tyrant, a legend, waiting for the day the seal is broken once more. And when that day comes, the God King of Dominion will rise again. And so, the legend of Kael'thar is written in the stars. But is this truly the end? We've seen his rise, his conquest, and his ultimate sacrifice. But myths like these never really die, do they? Somewhere in the cold void, beyond the reach of time, does the God King still wait? Could the seal of the Black Star break once more? What do you think? Was Kael'thar a tyrant, a savior, or something beyond both? If he were to return, would he reclaim his empire or destroy it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your theory. And if you want more epic cosmic lore like this, stay tuned. The universe is vast, and this is only the beginning.